After a very pleasant stay in El Bolson, we headed towards Bariloche, also known as the gateway to Patagonia. I personally preferred El Bolson to Bariloche, because Bariloche was a bit too touristy for my liking. But after wandering around the city for an afternoon, we did find a couple hidden gems, like this araucaria tree, otherwise known as the monkey puzzle tree. These trees are considered by some to be living fossils, because they've been living here on this planet since the time of the dinosaurs. And many of the world's petrified forests, like the ones in Arizona and Ecuador, are made up of araucaria trees that were buried millions of years ago and then turned into stone. We also found this anthropomorphized cat monarch with a paint roller. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but it's pretty cool. But for me, easily the best part of Bariloche was the couple of hours we spent driving the Circuito Chico, which is a beautifully picturesque collection of paved and dirt roads that wind around the lakes that surround Bariloche. And then, having gotten our fill of Argentina, we headed for Chile. We are officially checked out of Argentina. Let's go to Chile! The thing about the border checkpoints here is that they're many kilometers apart, because the border here is in such a remote area that neither country wanted to have their border crossing station actually on the border. We thoroughly enjoyed our drive through the beautiful no man's land between Argentina and Chile, even if it was a bit too cold at times. At the actual border, there's nothing but a sign to let you know that you're entering another country. And just in case you are profoundly lost, there's a sign to let you know where you are. It's 4:15 and we're about to start the process to legally enter Chile. Yay! It's 4:45. We have completed all of the required errands for entering Chile, including unpacking everything out of the motorcycle and repacking it. And yay! Now we're going to Chile for real! Yay! A word for future travelers, you're not allowed to bring any food or organic materials into Chile, so if you have any valuable organic items like a giant collection of seeds for your garden that you've collected throughout your entire trip through Central and South America, you should probably hide them well, or just put them in your pockets, because they don't check your pockets. Upon entering Chile, we discovered that while it was still winter on the Argentinian side of the Andes, it was definitely springtime here. The first thing we did was head towards the coast, towards the city of Valdivia. As soon as we entered the city, we got detoured by a parade and ended up driving around lost for about 30 minutes before we figured out how to cross the river. Eventually, we got out of the city and headed towards the little coastal town of Niebla, which was really green and warm, and there were flowers everywhere, and there was delicious seafood to be had at the local market. So what is it called?
Chupe.
Chupe.
De jaiba.
De jaiba. I don't know what jaiba is either, so I can't really explain it, but it's delicious.
Jaiba is crab. A kind of crab.
A very delicious kind of crab.
Very good.
Heading north from Niebla, we discovered a splendid little section of road that followed the coast and passed through a number of picturesque little towns. I would have loved to spend more time exploring this part of Chile, but unfortunately springtime in Chile is also the rainy season, so we decided to head north quickly in hopes of outrunning the full week's worth of rain headed our way. As we moved north, we continued to have quite a bit of trouble finding campsites. In Chile, like Argentina, the vast majority of campsites are only open during summertime. In Salto del Laja, which is a town with about 50 campsites and a major tourist attraction, we finally found one campground that was open, after about a half an hour of asking around. Well, I think it's finally time to cut off my ridiculously long facial hair. It's warm now, so I can no longer justify it as a means of insulation. And Gabby's ready.
Finally!
Gabby's ready for it to go. And of course, as soon as I cut off my built-in face warmer, the cold gray weather caught up with us again. Luckily, by the next morning, springtime had returned in its full splendor. We got lucky and found a really first-rate campsite on the shores of Lago Aculeo, outside of Santiago. The peacocks roaming around were a nice touch, but the best part was that the owners had a really nice garden. We gave them some of our seeds from our collection, and in return they gave us a huge variety and quantity from theirs. To prepare ourselves for our upcoming plunge into the concrete jungle of Santiago, we took a drive around Lake Aculeo. And then, before we knew it, we were in Santiago, which I thought was actually quite nice as far as cities go. There was a lot of well-designed and well-used public space, which created an atmosphere that I found to be friendly and welcoming. And I actually preferred Santiago over Buenos Aires. Gabby, on the other hand, preferred Buenos Aires, which goes to show it's just a matter of preference. Santiago did have a lot more going on in the streets, though. We saw a giant and very serious-looking chess tournament going on in the main plaza. There were people dancing, including a bunch of guys with bass drums strapped to their backs, seriously getting down. The cool thing about these guys was that their dance steps actually controlled the cymbals on top of their drums. And even in the middle of the day on weekdays, there was live music in the bandstand in the main plaza. And Gabby's friend Amanda, who lives in Santiago, invited us to come hang out at a picnic festival in one of the parks, which was thoroughly enjoyable. Turns out Gabby has a lot of friends in Santiago, and we ended up staying with two of them. Her friends Chris and Danny are originally from Cuenca, but they're living in Santiago now, and they let us crash on their couch, which was super awesome. Santiago also has one pretty awesome seafood market, courtesy of the Humboldt Current and its cold, nutrient-rich water, which makes the coast off of Chile some of the richest fishing grounds in the world. And since we were here, we had to give the local flavors a try. I had some Chilean ceviche, which was pretty darn good, but still not as good as the ceviche I got at the truck stop in Peru. We went to a couple nice museums, including the Natural History Museum, where you can stand inside the belly of a whale, and we even found the GoPro's great-great-granddaddy. And there's even a really nice subway system to connect all of the things together. Another thing about Santiago is that there are a lot, and I mean a lot more motorcycles here, which of course means it's a lot easier to find motorcycle parts here. So we decided to take advantage of this fact and replace a few things before they failed. Fortunately for us, the father of our friend Leo from the Earthship is a motorcyclist, and he lives in Santiago, and he offered to take us to his neighborhood shop so that we could do all the work we needed to do. So after something like 25,000 kilometers, we're finally changing our rear tire, saying goodbye to the Heidenau K60 Scout. We probably could have gotten some more mileage out of it. We haven't actually hit the wear indicators yet, but we ran it underinflated for some time on the highway and started to develop these cracks. And so yeah, we figured it'd be better to change it before we have our long haul back to Ecuador. Goodbye, old friends. We also changed the chain and sprockets, and found time for a little bit of personal maintenance. That's so much better. Gabby's friend Vero invited us to take a drive up into the mountains, and we experienced our second flat tire of the trip. Fortunately, it was on her car and not our motorcycle, so we could just put the spare on and continue with our journey. We visited a couple picturesque towns up in the mountain, and then drove all the way up to the last bits of snow, where we spent some time doing the standard snow fun time activities like building a snow person complete with a hat, and throwing snowballs at each other. For Gabby and Vero, this was very exciting because they're from Ecuador and they don't get to see snow very often. We also found this really cool bug living happily amongst the snow. I think it's a giant stonefly larvae, but I haven't had time to look it up, so if anybody out there knows what it is, please let me know. Back in the city, we went to visit the house of Pablo Neruda, the famous Chilean author and Nobel Prize winner, and we took some time to visit the couple of small mountain parks that are actually inside the city. These places were spared from development because they're simply too steep to build on, and now they provide a great place for tourists to take in great views of the city and to take selfies. And one of them has this neat old funicular to take you to the top in case you don't feel like walking. So here on top of Cerro San Cristobal, we found the last patch of the trip. The bag can now be completed, and we have an incredible view of the city of Santiago and all of the smog. That's all for now. Thanks everyone for all your support and encouragement, and an extra thank you to everyone who made our stay in Santiago so wonderful. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, please do let me know, and we'll see you all next time.